Hey folks, Jamie here, your online UX mentor. There's something about my crazy brain that just loves UX design, and I want to help you succeed in the field of UX. Why should you give one more second of your life to listen to me? Well, I do have 2 master's degrees in this field because I guess one wasn't hard enough, and I work as a senior UX designer, and I have done so for years, and I have, give or take, 25 years of product design and design experience, so maybe I can help. Welcome to part 2 of my video series, What is UX Design Exactly? In this video, I will walk you through a hypothetical scenario where you are acting as a UX designer on a new project. I will cover what you should do in this case through a typical series of events. Imagine you're hired as a UX designer for a fast food restaurant. Now, I know what you're asking. Why the heck would I do a drive-through restaurant example instead of the latest fancy artificially intelligence-driven application VR augmented reality app on your phone? Well, it's actually to help you. As I said in part 1 of the series, I would rather not speak about website or product design just yet because I feel there is a danger in painting a picture for you that we are more like graphic designers or visual designers who design screens. And I tell you this because it puts you at risk if your portfolio looks like that, because seasoned, experienced designers and directors are going to pass on you if we interview you and we see that you're really missing certain human-centered design elements. Also, if that is what you think this job is, and you pay a lot of money for a boot camp, you might find your money being wasted because the job's not exactly what you expected. So yes, in our world, we will mostly be doing a ton of app and web design. But while that is a small part of what we do, we really design entire end-to-end journeys to make the experience better. And in this story example, it's really meant to demonstrate that for you. So back to our story of improving the experience of a drive-through restaurant. Let's just say this hypothetical restaurant has about 5,000 locations worldwide, and many of the drive-thrus are made similarly because that's the way restaurants typically build things that are large chains. So if you get this right, in other words, improving the experience of the drive-thru, you're talking about a huge lift in customer satisfaction for the company. So no pressure here, right? But this is common in our field. And as a UX designer, you would know that you always start with research. So beginning at the beginning, you start with observational research. So you're gonna park your car, take pictures of what you're seeing, and take notes in the first method we're doing called fly on the wall research. What you're doing here in this method is you're trying to find the struggle. Where are the dips in experience? And along the way, maybe find the peaks in experience as well. Now, what you notice from doing this research is that, for starters, people are missing the driveway. They're coming into this drive-thru and they're making these awkward 3-point turns. And it's kind of dangerous because they have to back into the car behind them a little bit. And sometimes they're honking the horn just to get themselves lined up so they can get into the drive-thru properly. And then for those that do get into the drive-thru properly, you notice them peering at the menu board as they drive up to it, looking so carefully at it. Some of them are even opening the door to see if they can read the menu properly. So there's a lot of difficulty in just taking in what they're seeing on the menu. And then sometimes they're looking at the person next to them, and sometimes they're taking what seems to be a bit of a longer time than usual just to read a menu and make a decision. Then, right after they're reading the menu, of course, here comes the speaker. And the driver's expressions are similar to this. What? Could you repeat that? Okay, are you ready to take my order? That's correct. Okay, and then the driver then figures out, mostly guesses, that the person is ready to take their order on the other side. So the driver places their order and proceeds to drive forward to the next window. When they get to the window, the employee hands them their bag of food. The driver takes the bag of food, and then you notice a lot of friction going on here. What's happening is the driver is looking into the bag, looking at the passenger. You see gestures like this, I don't know. So then the driver waves over the employee looks at it and they have a conversation. The employee's smiling, looks like apologetically, and they hand the bag back to the employee. And then while this is going on, the driver at the window gives like a friendly horn honk, as friendly as you can honk your horn. And the employee kind of looks a little frustrated, says, just drive forward, park at a spot that looks like it's dedicated for people to pick up their fast food orders when something goes wrong. So at this point, it doesn't take too much brain power to figure out the restaurant screwed the order up. They got it wrong. And after about 10 minutes, the employee runs out to the parked car with their headset to give them the food, and the driver takes it and some pleasantries are exchanged, and then the driver leaves. But after another hour of observation, you're seeing the same thing happen again. And after it's all over, at the end of the day, as a researcher, you implement the second kind of user research method we typically do, called interviews. As a researcher, to interview these target users, we would call them, you would flag some people over towards the end of the day and ask them if they'd be willing to be interviewed for a gift card. Maybe you're wearing a uniform, so you introduce yourself so they're comfortable with who you are. And you get a few takers. You just ask them what was the worst part of their experience today. And of course you hear that the food mix-up was terrible, and it's really bad because one of the drivers was late for work because of this exact situation. But you also hear folks say that the menu was impossible to read and they couldn't understand what was being said on the speaker. So these are the struggles you're trying to find, right? And you know, if you can mitigate those, it's going to be so much better. But you also found a high point. You found that the employee was really, really nice in the eyes of the target user. So that makes you think, how can we encourage more kind employee behavior in the future as a business? So the next day, you're going to perform the third kind of research we typically do, which is called ethnographic research. So this is a fancy term, which really just means you immerse yourself in the study space to learn firsthand about the experience yourself. And at the end, what you're going to do with all this research is you need to synthesize it. You need to make a nice executive summary report that you're going to share with senior leadership. Now, in our business, these can be very high-ranking people. They could be VPs, senior VPs, CEOs, even owners of companies. So you're going to have to get good at sounding professional, polished, and coming up with concrete things that are brief and succinct, but also actionable. And in this report, you're going to recommend that the menu needs to have a reduced amount of options on it. First of all, there's too much to read, and that's causing two problems. One, you're increasing the cognitive load of the reader because there's so many options. And that's especially problematic for this restaurant because they're trying to add new menu items and hoping people are going to buy those new menu items. And they're getting false data that people just aren't interested in these new menu creations because people aren't ordering it, but that's actually wrong. They're not ordering it because there's too much to read on the menu, so they just default into ordering what they've always ordered in the first place because it's easier, and we're lazy creatures. The other problem a compact menu causes is that you're jamming so much stuff in here that individual fonts of every menu item has to get really, really tiny. Now this causes a readability issue. And if you have low vision, then you can't even read this menu at all. So it may not be the restaurant's intention to shut out people who don't have perfect vision, but that's effectively exactly what they're doing. They're shutting them out as customers, and they're also shutting them out of the world a little bit. So even if you just fix the menu and nothing else, huge wins for the experience, huge wins for the restaurant, because they're going to see increased profits by having happier customers. And of course, the obvious one, you want to improve the quality of the speaker. But even if you improve the quality of the speaker, that's still not solving the problem altogether, because there's always going to be interference between the speaker and how somebody hears and takes in what someone else said, purely from an auditory standpoint, right? There's no additional feedback to help make sure the order is getting processed properly or taken in properly. But what about folks who are hearing impaired? This garbled speaker was functioning so poorly that even folks who were not hearing impaired could barely understand what they heard. If you are hearing impaired, then you could forget about it. So again, was it the restaurant's desire to shut those folks out of the world and not let them be customers? Maybe not intentionally, but effectively that is what they're doing with this garbled speaker. So you recommend to, yes, the obvious thing, improve the quality of the speaker, but also build in a teleprompter. This way, customers of all hearing abilities can see the order that the employee punched in, and they can confirm it right there before any mistakes happen as they drive forward to the window to pick up their food. So this is also two humongous wins. Why? Well, not only are you helping people who may have hearing disabilities become customers. In our business, there's a huge discipline around this, a discipline within a discipline called accessibility. By making things more accessible, you are actually improving the experience overall for all people. Moreover, you do some basic calculations and you determined that the cost of wasted food because of these misorders that are happening in this restaurant is costing the company close to $250,000 a year in waste. What is happening here? Well, the employee is taking the food back from the driver who said they got their order wrong, and by law, they can't resell that food, so it goes right into the garbage. And then you have to understand that employees have to remake the right order and then hand it all back and forth to the driver again. So the additional wasted time employees need to make order twice, and the wasted money lost in the food being thrown away is costing this company a significant amount. And we do have ROI calculations that aren't really that hard to do to substantiate what I just said. This is a hypothetical situation, so I don't know if it's going to be $250,000 a year, but we can calculate such losses. Now, through my story, I hope you noticed how much work I had to put to get myself into the shoes of these people, these drive-through restaurant customers who may be absolutely nothing like who I am. You see, your job as a UX designer is to understand the struggles, understand what the target user wants to do by removing those struggles and helping them achieve their goals. You want to make an artifact, be it a car, be it an app, be it an entire process, whatever the thing is. That's why I use that term artifact, that meets the needs of the people. So you don't want your personal biases interfering with that, as the target user may be nothing like you. So you kind of have to unmake yourself to do this right. You need to check your own personal opinions and design style at the door and trust what the research is telling you about the people you serve and design your artifacts around those needs. Now, using this example, let's add on a little bit more. What if you had the same exact job assignment, but this time you had to improve the experience of customers using a self-serve kiosk that are becoming very, very common today, especially in Europe? In this case, you would observe a lot of difficulty for people who are trying to figure out how to use this kiosk. Finally we get to interface design. You notice people that are asking for help. Older folks are asking their kids to help. Overall, the design of the kiosk screen, its buttons, its language, and its pictures is just not easy to use. And in this case, you will definitely be doing some interface design that improves this poor experience. But it's not in all cases, okay? So essentially, UX designers wear two hats. One, we're part investigator like Sherlock Holmes, and the other, we're part designer. So I don't know what hat that would be, like a beret or something. We are detectives and designers smushed all into one. So remember, UX design means designing entire experiences, and if part of that experience includes improving an app or a screen design, then so be it. But that is not all we do. In fact, I have to tell you, I have heard in the UX community that nowadays with AI, maybe in the near future, you might be able to tell the AI engine, design me a landing page for maximum conversion, and it's gonna spit it out for you. So even more evidence that this is not all we do, and to not focus on the design too much. And even if AI is capable, that actually makes us more valuable as UX designers. So don't be nervous here. because now we can free our minds to focus on what makes an amazing UX without manually designing the screens, which is a rabbit hole that our brains can get into and lose focus of the big picture. I tell you this to help you, because I've seen many folks interview who simply backspace over their graphic design or visual design title and put in UX UI after it or in place of it, and then they show us their work and we see no evidence of human-centered design efforts in their case studies. So what happens? We pass on these folks. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, my hypothesis is that this video helped you understand what experience design is by using a fun little story. If you found it valuable, please take 0.02 seconds to hit the like button. If you have any feedback for me on how I can improve what I'm showing you, hey, put me to work. I will research topics you want to know about. I will answer questions that you have for me. The best way to do that is in the comments, because I can see it all and others can see your questions as well. And the feedback actually surfaces the video, makes it easier to find, so other people who are trying to learn this can also find it as well. Oh, and this is very important. Be sure to download your free UX Starter Kit, which is a comprehensive guide to kickstart your journey in creating meaningful user experiences. The link is in the description below. Let's work on elevating your designs together. Also, I am currently working on some classes that are helping folks get better at the UX design field, specifically for starters, people that are transitioning out of college or boot camps to break into this field, because you're not really well prepared in college or boot camps to do that sort of thing. That's really a skill in itself. Now be sure to stay tuned for part 3 of What is UX Design, where I talk about the salaries we make and a bit of back history on why our pay is about 3 times the national average. And it's all for you in the next video. So I'll see you there. This is Jamie, your online UX mentor, signing off until next time.